You're watching Dave's Cards and Sports Games. I haven't opened up one of my sets. I have to get all of my sets are going into sleeves in albums. So let's go to the 1977 set. That's what the wrapper looked like, by the way, in 1977. Let's go back in time and have some fun looking at baseball cards. This will be a two-part video. We'll do half the set now. And it's always fun because I actually get to touch the cards before I put them into the album. So let's go do it. There's batting leaders, Mad Dog and George Brett. Craig Nettles and Mike Schmidt, Bombers. RBI leaders, Lee May and George Foster. Some speed with Bill North and Davey Lopes. Victory leaders, Jim Palmer and Randy Jones. Look at that card. Nolan Ryan and Tom Seaver. Mark the Bird Fidrich, a one-year phenom, and John Denny. Best relievers, Raleigh Eastwick and the Twins, Bill Campbell. That's probably a surprise. So what did he do? Oh yeah, back then you got points. 2 points for a win. And I think 1 point for a save. And he had a lot of wins in relief. Let's get to the other cards now. There's Doug Radar. I like to put my cards like this, so I got to make sure I put them the right way. Doug Radar. There's Reggie Jackson. That's going to be a 10 on the back, I bet. Once again, Topps back in the day, all the best cards were, put a number 10, you put a 0 at the end. And if your card is 50, you're really good. 100, 200, you're fantastic. And I can't get this thing to spread out. There we go. So let's get to it again. There's Rob Dressler, Larry Haney, Louis Gomez, Tommy Smith. This is the first year of the Mariners. Well, they made that look pretty good because that's a painted-on hat. The Mariners didn't have a team, so that was an Indians cap that the artist just put an M on. That looks pretty good. It almost looks like it's stitched in. Fantastic. Don Gullett with a painted-on NY because he was traded from the Reds. So I like how they make it. If you look really quick, you don't notice it, but if you look long, you go, that's a terrible NY. Bob Jones, Steve Stone with the fake socks on the back because he transferred. He went back to the White Sox after being with the White Sox earlier on in his career. Here's the Indians team with Frank Rappetzon, the first African-American manager in baseball. John D'Acquisto, Craig Nettles. Actually, it's Greg Nettles, not Craig Nettles. It's Greg Nettles. I always forget that. Ken Forge. Bill Freehan, great catcher. Dan Dreesen, Carl Morton, Dwight Evans, should be in the Hall of Fame. Ray Sadecki, Bill Buckner, also another guy that should be maybe in the Hall of Fame. Boy, that guy could hit. Bucky Dent, Greg the Bull Luzinski, Jim Todd. A checklist with some writing on it. I have to get a few. These things are so expensive right now. I have to probably update that one. But if it's going to be over $100, I'm not going to do it. Wayne Garland. How about the Angels? And their manager was Norm Sherry. Rennie Stennett, John Ellis, Steve Hargan, Craig Mongo Cusick, Tommy Griffin, Bobby Mercer. Kind of a cool card with Joe Ferguson's back showing. Jim Kern, Jose Cruz, Ray Bear. Hopefully you're enjoying my videos. This is, once again, Dave's Cards and Sports Games, and I'm Dave. This will be part one of a two-part series. Bud Harrelson, Raleigh Eastwick. Okay, we just saw him with Bill Campbell as a reliever. And he had 11 wins in relief. Buck Martinez, Lynn McLaughlin. Back then, the Cardinals and the Phillies and the Pirates all wore hats like that. Kind of in lieu of their 1870s hats. Tom Wimpy Pechoric, Grant Jackson, Ron Say. How about Alex Grammas and the Brewers? And back then, they just had the M on the hat for the Brewers. That's before they made it look cool. Ellis Valentine, Paul Mitchell, Sandy Alomar, Jeff Burrows, Rudy May, Mark Hill, Chet Lemon, Larry Christensen, Jim Rice. Let's see what number he gets. Number 60. 25 homers, 252 batting average, 282 batting average. Hard to read. There it is, 282. Manny Sanguillen, you can tell he was just traded because look at the paint job they did on that helmet. From the Pirates, of course. Yeah, Manny Sanguillen was many years with the Pirates. He had 1,200 hits. Look at the batting average, 300 batting average, 303. Eric Raish, Tito Fuentes, Larry Bittner, Skip Lockwood, Roy Smalley. His first time with the Twins. Joaquin Andahar, Bruce Bochy, Jim Crawford, Johnny Bench gets card number 70. Doc Ellis, Mike Anderson, Charlie Williams. How about Jack McKeon, coaching the Oakland A's in the multicolored jerseys. Dennis Leonard, Tim Foley, Dyer Miller, Bob Davis, Don Money, Andy Messersmith. That's 80 cards. We'll just do 20 more here. Juan Beniquez, Jim Rooker, Kevin Bell, Ollie Brown, Dwayne Kuiper, Pat Zachary. I think Kuiper's an announcer. Glenn Borgman, Stan Wall, Butch Hobson, Cesar Cedeno. John Verhoeven, he did play for the Twins. He was a submarine pitcher. Dave Rozzello, Tom Poquette, Craig Swan, Keith Hernandez, number 95. Lou Piniella, not even a 5 or a 0. Dave Heaverlo, Milt May, Tom Hausman, and card number 100, the great Joe Morgan. So let's get to the next wad here. Try to find about 50 or so. Here we go. Dick Bosman, Jose Morales, McBassick, Omar Moreno. I think Jose Morales at the time was a phenomenal pinch hitter, and he led the league, broke a record for most pinch hits in a season. Steve Yeager, Mike Flanagan, Bill Melton, Alan Foster, that's George Orta, not Jorge Orta, George, so it's kind of weird. Steve Carlton, 110. He gets 110 with a season of 26 wins and 7 losses. That's amazing. Rico Petrocelli. Good grief, it's Bill Grief. How about the Blue Jays? There's their coaching staff. This is their first ever card. Even says founded, 76. Bob Miller, Don Leppert, Jackie Moore, Harry Warner, and Roy Hartsfield was their first coach. Bruce Del Canton, Rick Manning, Joe Niekro, Frank White, Rick Jones, John Stearns, Rodney Klein Carew. Nice shape card there, boy. These cards are all in pretty good shape. Gary Nolan, Ben Ogilvy, Fred Stanley, George Mitterwald, Bill Travers, Rod Gilbreth, Ron Fairley, Tommy John. You know you're a good player when a surgery is named after you. Mike Sadek, Al Oliver, A.O., Orlando Ramirez, Chip Lang, Ralph Garr, Speed Demon. How about the Padres and John McNamara? Mark Belanger, Jerry Mumphrey, Jeff Turpko, Bob Stinson, Fred Norman, Mike Jack Schmidt. Card number 140. Mark Littell, Steve Dillard, Ed Herman, Bruce Suter, Tom Verizor, Dusty Baker, Jackie Brown, Fran Healy, Mike Cubbage, Tom Seaver is card number 150. Johnny LeMaster, 151. And Gaylord Perry gets 152. So is this before he was good, or it can't be? He was good way before this. This is at the latter part of his career, and he still won 70 more games and ended with 300, I believe, with the Mariners. Ron Papa Jackson. Dave, that one I'm not sure how to say him. Dave Justy, I believe. I don't think it's Eustace. I think it's Justy. Joe Rudy, Pete McCannon, Ken Brett, Tom Kubiak, Bernie Carbo, Will McEnany. I wonder if that's related to the White House, Donald Trump's chief of staff. I think her name was McEnany. Gary Templeton, Mike Quaylar, Dave Hilton. Look at that paint job on the Blue Jays. Tug McGraw. Remember his commercial? Tug McGraw, what a shape. No, I use a Gillette razor. Jim Wynn, Bill Campbell, Richie Hebner, wearing the hat I was talking about. Pirates, Phillies, and Cardinals all wore the hat. Charlie Spikes, Daryl Knowles, there's Thurman Munson, one of the greats. 170. He died too young. Ken Sanders, John Milner, Chuck Scrivener, Nelson Bryles. There's Butch Weiniger. There was a commercial in the Twin Cities for Butch Weiniger saying the kid loves baseball so much, or he loves baseball so much, he'd play for free. And then they show Calvin Griffith. I love that kid. So from then on out, he became Love That Kid Weiniger. Look at that. Nice rookie season. Made the All-Star game, as a matter of fact. Bob Robertson, Bart Johnson, Bombo Rivera. He was a fan favorite when he was traded to the Twins in the late 70s, early 80s. Paul Hartzell also played for the Twins. Davey Lopes, one of the fastest. Ken McMullen, Dan Spillner. How about the Cardinals and Vern Rapp as their manager? Bo McLaughlin, Sixto Lascano, Doug Flynn, Dick Pohl, not the best name ever. Bob Tolan, Rick Dempsey, he was a comedian. Ray Burris, Doug Griffin, Clarence Cito Gaston, Larry Gura, Gary Matthews, with the painted on A, because I think he was on the Phillies, or Giants, excuse me. Yep, he was on the Giants. Ed Figueroa, Lenny Randall, Ed Ott, Wilbur Wood. You're looking at the complete set. Two more, and there's Pepe Frias and Frank Tanana with a monster year. Gets card number 200. The best cards are for the 100, 200, 300 group. And I don't know what I did here. It looks like my first 10 I put down over here and forgot to put the card on top of it. There we go. So now we're doing 300. Then we'll take a little breather, and I'll do another video. Ed Cranepool, Tom Johnson, Ed Armbrister. Once again, these cards are all in very nice shape. Jeff Newman, Pete Falcone, Boog Powell, Glenn Abbott. A checklist. This one does not have writing on it at all. That's good to know. I don't have to buy another one. Rob Andrews, Fred Lynn. One of the best. Don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. He should be. Joe Altobelli. Jim Mason. How about that name? Maximino Leone. Daryl Porter, good catcher. Butch Metzger, Doug DeSensei's great fielder. Tom Underwood, John Wathan, another great hitting catcher. Joel Coleman. He's a long-time baseball announcer, too. Chris Chambliss, Bob Bailey, Francisco Berrios, Earl Williams, Rusty Torres, Bob Apodaca, Leroy Stanton. That card has a little thing on it. So a few cards I might have to replace, but I don't think Leroy Stanton will be too much money. There's the Twins card. I'm from Minnesota, and it's always good to see a card a picture taken at the old Met. Gene Mock, the manager. And he got to manage his nephew, Roy Smalley. Don Kessinger, Vida Blue. George Brett, record breaker. Most consecutive games, 3 or more hits. Eight consecutive games. Wow, that's amazing. You'd think Ty Cobb would have done that, but no. How about Manny Minoso? He picked up a hit, I think, when he was 50. 54 years old. And Jose Morales, most hits in a season, pinch hitter. We just talked about that. $25 pinch hits in a season. Nolan Ryan, most seasons, 300 or more strikeouts. And there were a few more after that. Cecil Cooper, Tom Buskey, Gene Kleins, Tippy Martinez, Bill Plummer, Ron LaFleur, Dave Tomlin, Ken Henderson. Ken Henderson had a decent career. 1,000 hits. Decent batting average. Ron Reed, John Mayberry, power hitter, Rick Rhoden, Mike Vail, Chris Knapp, Wilbur Howard, Pete Redfern, Bill Mad Dog Madlock, Tony Muser, Dale Murray, John Hale, Doyle Alexander, George Boomer Scott. No, that can't be a paint job. I think he played with the Brewers the year before. Let's look. Yes, that would be a phenomenal paint job to do a shadow like that. All right, almost done. I think they're 660, so we're going to do 330 cards. Joe Horner, Mike Miley, Louis Tiant, Mets team card with Joe Frazier, smoking Joe Frazier, J.R. Richard, Phil Garner, Al Cowens, AC they called him, Mike Marshall. The guy pitched for everybody and never wanted to leave a game. Tommy Hutton, Daryl Thomas. Once again, we're looking at the 1977 top set, every card, before I stick them into sleeves and put them into albums. Dave Parker, Hall of Famer. Terry Forster, Lee Lacy, Eric Soderholm, Don Stanhouse, Mike Hargrove. And let's get to some highlights. American League champion, Chris Chambliss hit a monster homer against the Royals. NL, Pete Rose in the sweep. And we don't get the World Series. Danny Frisella, Joe Wallace, Jim Catfish Hunter, Roy Stager, Sid Manji, Jerry Devanin, Mike Norris, Brooks Robinson, Johnny Grubb. How about the Reds and Sparky Anderson? Bob Montgomery, Gene Garber, Amos Otis, Jason Thompson, Rogelio Moret, Jack Brohammer, George Medich. There's the Pirates wearing the hat. Gary Carter, future Hall of Famer. Don Hood, Ken Reitz, Charlie Huff, good career. Otto Velez, Jerry Kuzman from Appleton, Minnesota. I say that every time I see him. And he moved out west to Morris, Minnesota. Toby Harrah, Mike Garman, Gene Tennis, Jim Hughes, Mickey Rivers, Rick Waits, Gary Sutherland, Gene Pence. How about the Red Sox and Don Zimmer? I think that was his first year coaching as the head coach. Larry Bowa, Vern Rule. Do a few more here. Get to half the set. And then in 78, I think they make the set really big. 798, I think. Bob Bellore, Paul Blair, Steve Mingori, Dave Chalk. These cards are all in great shape. Steve Rogers, Kurt Bavacqua, Duffy Dyer, Rich Goose Gossage. Oh, then I tell you how good they are. A few cards I might have to replace. And there's Ken Griffey Sr. Definitely replace that one. Dave Goltz, Bill Russell, Larry Lintz, John Curtis, Mike Ivey, Jesse Jefferson, the Astros team card with the great Bill Verdon, Tommy Boggs and Ron Hodges and George Kendrick. Forgot about George. So that is the first half of the 1977 top set. Be sure to come back and watch part 2. Hope you're having a great day. This is Dave's Cards and Sports Games, part 2, coming up shortly.